And we're live, ranking every English monarch from worst to first. This video contains just about everyone who has made a claim to the throne, as well as the monarchs of Wessex. Wessex preceded England, which is why they are included. This video will have a tier list as well as an actual ranking. Without further ado, let's get started with F tier. My apologies if some pronunciations are off. 94, Sewellyn. Really proving this first is the worst theory, as many people see him as the first English king. We will go back to Cerdic. Most bad rulers that will be covered in this video had super short reigns. He did not. He ruled for 31 years. During this time, he let people invade his kingdom, was known to be terribly cruel, even for his time, and was so bad that he was forced out of his own kingdom. 93, Edward II. He did get England and France to work together to have him deposed. He was known for prioritizing his favorites, leading to conflict with his own family. His military defeats were terrible, and to the point where he lost a lot of the land that his father he had gained. In addition, he was personally unpleasant to be around. 92, Mary I. She tried to make England return to Catholicism. She did not do it peacefully. She demanded that her deeply unpopular be crowned king. She let the world collapse around her and actively helped it collapse. Said husband is Philip. He is not always considered a monarch, but was crowned with Mary I. Supported just about everything she did, including the persecutions. The only reason he is higher is that he never really ruled England, but he did ruin Spain, so that's something. 90, Harthacnut. Actively raised taxes, ruled as an autocrat without seeking advice from anyone. He purged his own citizens, and because he only lasted 2 years is why he is not dead last on this list, although he did screw England over for a long time. 89, Bjorthoric. Never had real power until late in his reign. What we saw was not good. Did nothing to repel Viking raids and pushed away his own allies. He's the first on this list to have any somewhat major success establishing a new mint. 88, Richard II. Inherited the throne during a war with France, right after a plague. He tried to end said war, but was completely powerless. He remained powerless throughout his reign, but did do one major thing: increase taxes. He was understandably deposed. 87, Sigbert. Apologies that I could not find a photo of him. Just a terrible person. He was a criminal, which led to his deposition. Records are scant for his 2-year reign, but what we do have, it makes him seem horrible. Everyone hated him. 86, Edward VIII. He disgraced the monarchy at a time when there had been growing calls to abolish it. He also tried to influence politically, which sent shockwaves through the nation. Lastly, he would not follow the tradition of alternating which way the monarch is facing on coinage. Although that is a minor thing, it is still notable. He abdicated to marry Wallis Simpson after just 325 days on the job. He did not go away quietly, as he would regularly bother his brother, George VI, with calls and demands. He actually attempted to revolt later on. The only reason he is this high is his support of the everyday people. 85, Edvig. He became the king at the age of 15 and was just a typical rebellious teenager. He pushed away most of the nobility, who ended up fighting with the church. He then split the empire, and had he lived longer, likely would have caused a civil war. Oh, and when he wasn't ruling, he was living like a rich man while the citizens were panicking. 84, Charles I. Where do I begin here? Firstly, he was super indecisive about many things and was known for his wishy-washiness. Next, he funded extravagance and unnecessary wars by way of the taxpayer. He caused religious conflict, which led to a civil war, meanwhile trying to rule like an absolute monarch, when that was not what was needed. Oh, and that's not even mentioning a second civil war fought under his name, where he ended up getting captured and executed. 83, Cynewulf. Another monarch where we have so few sources that it would be unfair to put him lower. He did assert that Wessex was independent, but ended up causing needless wars. He also committed attacks on his own citizens if anyone didn't pay his taxes. Oh, and the person that was trying to keep it all together during his reign? Yeah, he had them killed. 82, John. Many people consider him to be the worst king in English history. I say he was a cruel leader who did not care about the people around him. He did raise taxes for no reason. He got into unnecessary arguments with the church. Oh, and he lost almost all of England's land. He then was forced to sign the Magna Carta and then tried to get rid of it. However, he did go out of his way to learn English, to relate to people, and created hospitals. Had people listened, he could have held off the French at Chateau Galliard. Now we are on to D tier. These are slightly better than F, still pretty dull, still pretty bad, but not terrible. Just bad. 81, Richard Cromwell. A lot of people don't think him and his dad were monarchs, but we are including him because he got handed a divided country and had little to no interest in ruling it. The Protectorate was £2 million in debt during his time as Lord Protector. The fighting with Parliament led to the restoration of the monarchy. He was exiled following his disastrous reign, even though it wasn't technically a reign. 80, Edward the Martyr. He was a violent person who split the empire and raised taxes. That is all we know for sure. The rest are conflicting, as some sources hate him and some love him. He got this position due to the fact that he never really got a grasp on ruling. 79, James II. He just couldn't read the room. There was no way that England would go back to Catholicism after that long. He was allowed to be king due to personal tolerance, even though he really didn't have personal tolerance. He used the army to influence elections in his country to go the way that he wanted, which, although we have had dictators here, most were. This is the only monarch who has actively interfered in elections. 78, Henry VI. Probably the only medieval monarch that could be considered a good person by today's standards, which was basically being a weak medieval ruler. His weakness would lead to a power struggle, which in turn would lead to the War of the Roses. His reign saw the loss of significant English territories in France. However, gotta remember he was a good person who tried diplomacy and founded Eton and Cambridge College. 77, Saint-Gilles. Was the only battle whose record survives today, was forced to share the throne, lost lands. That is all we really know about him. 76, Edred. His reign was filled with hits and misses. More misses than hits, though. Most of what we know is his military record, which at first was good, even great, then got bad, really bad. It is also known that he did not do a good job as an administrator. Just a sec, sorry. 75, Stephen. It started off well, then there was a massive Welsh revolt and a civil war with his cousin Matilda. Stephen ended up being imprisoned during this time and was forced to make Henry II, Matilda's son, his heir. By the time of his death in 1154, England was in a much worse place than when he had found it. 74, Eustace. Junior king under Stephen, unable to be coronated, defeated in battle. That's it. 73, Matilda. Same era, another monarch who ruled during that time. She was arrogant and demanded to be an absolute monarch. She caused the country a needless civil war because she couldn't be quiet. The only reason she is this high is that we only saw her as queen for 8 months, engulfed in civil war, so she never really got a chance to rule the kingdom. 72, George IV. Developed colossal debts due to extravagance, persecuted his own wife, and was resistant to the change that England wanted. However, embraced the arts, and during his time as Prince Regent, which we are going to count under as both George IV and George III here, he did and actually beat Napoleon. 71, Oliver Cromwell. Deposed an absolute monarch, and then decided to become one. Freedom of speech and freedom of religion were non-existent during his tenure. His war with Ireland for no reason caused 137,000 civilian casualties. He did play a vital role in laying the foundation for the British Empire, though. 70, Ethelhard. Puppet throughout his reign. Not much is known about him, but what we know isn't good. Next. 69, George I. Spent most of his life in Germany and didn't speak much English. Appointed the first prime minister and was insanely greedy. He was so unpopular, his own family hated him. Oh, and he was just a puppet. 68, Saul. His name translates directly to ship. It's likely he didn't even exist, as there's one record of an account of him being defeated in battle. 74, Cordoba. King for a few days. One source hates him, but he also probably didn't exist. 66, Henry the Young King. Son of Henry II, crowned in 1170. Spent his entire life as a junior king. Many people don't even consider him a king. 65, Swine Forkbeard. Okay, maybe the cool name of Forkbeard makes me think of him better than he was. In practice, he never made any laws for England, which gave the next guy, who we will be talking about, back the throne. Now, if he was in Danish kings, which we may do, he will be much higher. 64, Ethelred the Unready. Did nothing while England was invaded, ordered the massacre of the Danes, and even lost his throne to Swine Forkbeard. However, a lot of his failures weren't even his, as he was surrounded by some bad advisors, which is the only reason why he is this high on the list. 63, Louis, King of France, invited to invade England by the barons who were fed up with King John being unwilling to follow the Magna Carta, which they had forced him to sign. As he was packing to leave England and take the throne, John got dysentery and died, and Louis was told, "Never mind, you are not our king." 62, Cerdic. Another mythical king who may have never existed. United communities into Wessex and was the first king. Was probably born in Germany around 475 AD. The most impressive of the kings who probably never existed. 61, Harold Harefoot. Secured England and protected it from invaders. However, his reign was marred by his cruelty and political instability. Then he suffered a mysterious illness and dropped dead as soon as things were starting to turn around. This is very likely a cover-up for some sort of assassination. I'm not one to blame, though. 60, Richard the Lionheart. Yes, he was excellent in battle and secured the existence of the Crusader states, and was a stellar negotiator. However, he only did spend 6 months of his 10-year reign in England. Oh, and he got captured in one of his few battle losses. In order for him to get freed, the kingdom, which had already been partially bankrupted by his failure of policies, had to pay a ransom that completely bankrupted them. He also laid out a succession plan that was sure to fail by giving the throne to his 12-year-old nephew Arthur, who, by the way, is not on this list. Definitely D tier, but he's at the top of it for a reason. C tier are monarchs that it's like nothing is known. It's the ones that I mentioned that are very little known. We have at least 2 sources. These ones, either we only have one source, they may have just been thrown in. Seal, the guy whose name translates to boat, who I mentioned in D tier, is there because there's a record of a battle loss. Most of these people don't. The rest were just kind of there, or did the same amount of good and bad. 59, Cenphus. Where do I start? No, really. Where do I start? I cannot find any information about him except a few lists of monarchs. He may have been the father of Acewine. He may have reigned in 674. I haven't done a lot of research. I've done a lot of research by the sources that Wikipedia lists. Oh, this dude doesn't even have a page. What I found online, nothing. What I found in texts, nothing. Seriously, if someone can find me actual information on this guy, let me know, and we can actually properly rate him. 68, Schweischalm. Pretty much the same thing, except a Wikipedia page. Tried to meddle with foreign affairs, probably failed. Maybe lost a battle? Oh, but you know what's the most likely theory with him? He never existed. Although I did say that It would be the highest one. Previously, I had mentioned that we had the highest one that never existed. Probably never existed. This person, I'd say, has about 60% chance of being a real person who lost a battle. Oh, but he is known to also have won one, which is why he's here. 57, Ethelweird. Nothing is known about his reign, but was very intelligent, so that's that. 56, Acewine. Defeated invaders during a 2-year reign. That is all we know. Oh, and he may have been a junior king, so he's a little bit lower because of that. 55, Scentwine. Same as the last guy, but lasted a decade and may have won 3 great battles. All the information was written after his death, and there is about a 20% chance that he never even existed. 54, Lady Jane Grey. Shadowy figure who reigned for 9 days in July of 1553. A puppet of her family, she is towards the top of the puppets due to her respect of Parliament. 53, Ethelbald. Although he reigned as sole monarch for 2 years, he revolted against his father, and his father didn't challenge it, so in practice, he had a 5-year reign that was pretty forgettable. 52, Cadwalla. He is not forgettable, as he is a terrible person and a genocidal maniac. But he did see Wessex grow into the 3rd most powerful kingdom, which paved the way for the future of England. He was wounded in battle and actually abdicated voluntarily after 3 years. 51, Solwolf. I promise this is the last in the hardly interrupted Wessex kings, who many people don't even think were English. I included them because they were basically pre-England. He spent his reign preventing invaders, but was too busy to make any policy decisions. 50, Charles the Overready. What we have seen up to this point, which was when this was filmed, was April 26th, 2025. He fought to combat climate change, is a stubborn worker who cares about his constituents. By the end of his reign, he could likely go up, but now he is only reigned for 3 years. I do think he will be overshadowed by his mother, but still has a chance to make a name for himself, like Edward VII, who was later on this list. 49, Henry IV. His reign was pretty much exactly middle of the road. Could have been better, as he was a capable military leader and was very intelligent. However, because he usurped the throne and was personally cruel, he faced numerous rebellions, which he was busy fighting off. He suffered a serious skin ailment and head lice, which had him bedridden and unable to work for weeks to months, and in a couple cases, years at a time. 48, George II. Another mixed bag. More popular than his father, one named George I. He displayed courage when, at the age of 60, he led troops into battle at Dettingen. However, his falling out with both his father and son, as well as not trying to help the people get used to the idea of a prime minister, definitely puts him down a bit. Although he tried to seem that he was interested, he really didn't care about the arts or sciences the people of Kingdom were passionate about at the time. 47, Ethelbert. This should have been bad. High taxes, the kingdom split, and Viking raids. So why do I put him this high? He pushed for peace, but was willing to fight when needed, and defeated multiple invaders. He is known to have founded different schools and hospitals for his citizens. And the splitting of the kingdom, that was a dumb choice that actually ended up working. 46, Edgar Atheling. He tried his absolute hardest to keep the Anglo-Saxon line in power. He was a very skilled general and excellent at negotiation. He was able to gain the support of quite a bit of the population. However, the nobles didn't support him. Before he could enact any policy, he was deposed. He actually later went on to serve on the court of William I and became friendly with William Rufus. He was pardoned for all involvement in the attempt to take the throne before William the Conqueror was coronated by another of the Conqueror's sons, Henry. He died in 1125 in peace, 59 years after his reign. This is the record amongst the people on this list, as most retirements were very short. 45, William Rufus. Defended the kingdom successfully and kept rebellions at bay. He was a skilled general who gained the respect of the army through his courage and good luck. But he did make financial decisions that would benefit himself and managed to upset the church. Oh, and he was brutal and cruel to everyone, including his own family. 44, Henry III. A good person, he made sure his citizens were fed during the famine of the 1250s, rebuilt Westminster Abbey, which still stands today. However, he was unable to stop the invaders from invading and made some pretty costly mistakes, notably the Sicilian business and his reliance on untrustworthy foreign advisors. Warning, this next one is controversial. 43, Richard III. So much has been written about him, some positive but most negative. It is hard to tell which is real and which stories that were made up to make him look good or bad. He was a manipulator and was overly paranoid. The trumped-up charges on political enemies is also a major stain. However, he made sure that the poor received fair treatment, he had hospitals built, and seemed to just care about the everyday citizens. He was intelligent, but given the fact that he only lasted 2 years and was a tyrant, he can't be any higher. 42, Senwal. Okay, this could have been, and probably should have been, way worse. He left his kingdom open to plundering and invasions. Oh, and one of those invasions led to his deposition. Military record wasn't terrible, but wasn't good either. However, he was the earliest monarch to actively listen to the citizens of his kingdom, and he was a hard worker. B tier. These are better than average. These are not great, but for their time, they're pretty much what they needed, but nothing spectacular. 41, William IV. Not much to say about him. A lot of key reforms were made during his reign, but he had zero say in any of them. He was productive instead of extravagant, but he did try to rule like an absolute monarch during parts of his reign, but still managed to advocate and advance democracy at other times. 40, Edward V. One of the princes in the Tower and reigned for 11 months. He was placed here for what could have been a good, maybe even great, reign. He was charismatic, very intelligent, athletic, and dignified. Alas, we will never have this reign because someone thought it would be bad to have him as a king. We do not know who, and I am not going to speculate on what happened to the princes in the Tower, although let me know if that is a video you would like to see. Maybe by the time you're watching this video, it is already out. 39, Elizabeth II. From a short reigning monarch to the longest reigning monarch, Elizabeth reigned for over 70 years. She was a symbol of stability during this time. She was quiet, but yet still managed to be a warm presence in people's lives during her reign, which saw the beginnings of colored TV and the age of the internet. She gave her life to service of the country and was the only monarch to serve in World War II. However, under her watch, the empire lost well over half its land, and this was the most land lost by anyone we are covering today. Oh, and the covert war in Yemen and the propaganda in Indonesia don't help her score either. 38, Anne. Unified England and Scotland, something that England hadn't had. She would meet her citizens personally, which was almost unheard of at the time. The economy prospered under her watch. However, her health seriously stopped her from becoming great, as a lot of the work was not hers. 37, Charles II. Brought back stability, something that England hadn't had for over a decade and a half. Founded the Royal Society, which still does important scientific research, ordered bread and rice for those who lost their homes in the Great Fire of London, and ordered that shelter be made for them. He even personally rode through the flaming streets in order to boost morale. There's also the other side, as someone who battled with Parliament and had to rely on France, of all countries, to provide finances. 36, Edward IV. Besides needlessly angering his closest advisor and spending a bit too much money, he did pretty good. He restored order, supported the new invention of printing, was a stellar military leader, and related to his subjects very well. 35, Ethelred I. Yes, he did let the Vikings invade because he was more focused on domestic policy. However, once he realized that it was affecting his population, he fought them off. Even with that, by the time of his death, he had left the kingdom with more money than he found it with, albeit just a little bit. 34. Sinrek. On paper, perfect. Expanded the kingdom, lowered taxes, and put off rebellions successfully. However, we do need to think that the rebellions were triggered by something. Was it something he did? We don't know. Most of the things that have been written about him and his reign have been lost or are incomplete. 33. Sixbur. Intelligent, capable, likable, and hardworking. She would have been a great queen had she not dropped dead after 2 years. 32. Penda. Well, he did what he could in order to provide for the people he invaded, which was a needless invasion, by the way. He was led in by the people who had enough of the last king, even though he was a okay king. However, he only reigned for 3 years before anything notable happened, and he did cause the kingdom of Wessex to fall, even if it was falling to him. His failed succession plan put Wessex back on the map. 31. Edmund Ironside. A lot of people hate him, but in reality, he was doomed from the start. He actually put up more of a fight against the Danes than any other king. He was popular enough that the citizens voted him, not made, voted him as their king. If you manage to gain the respect of your enemy and your citizens who hate said enemy, you are a good king. 30. Mary II. Effective, firm, smart, and supportive transitioning England into a constitutional monarchy. Although she was deeply religious, she was tolerant of other faiths, and when she died, she left the throne to her husband William III, who we will see later on this list. The only thing that bumps her down is that she was only queen for 2 years. 29. Edward VII. The first fully constitutional monarch, desperately tried for peace and was very intelligent. However, he was also unremarkable. This guy is not unremarkable. 28. George III. Defeated Napoleon, had trust in Parliament, patronized the arts and sciences, and tried to serve as faithfully as he could. However, he lost England due to unfairly taxing them and acted impulsively on many different occasions. 27. Edward VI. During his 6-year reign, he signed the orders for more schools and more hospitals to be built, and including more hospitals than any other monarch up to that point. He did what he could to combat the homelessness crisis, which was at a high during the Tudor era. And he tried to combine England and Scotland, albeit not in a very good way. However, he was also a weak king that was influenced by those around him and died at the age of 15 before he could even get a grasp on the throne permanently. 26. George V. A hard worker whose reign saw England win World War I and the rise of extreme political ideals. Had he saved Nicholas II, Tsar of Russia, and Russia had become a constitutional monarchy under his children, then maybe we could put the figurehead higher. Although there is one more figurehead that is much later on this list. Do you know who that would be? I'll give you guys 3 seconds to guess. You'll find out later. 25. Harold Godwinson. Ruled fairly, got a magnificent victory against the Norwegians at the Battle of Stamford Bridge. Then, less than a month later, he died in the Battle of Hastings against William the Conqueror. Oh, and the arrow in the eye story? That's likely false. 24. Henry VIII. Okay, this is another super controversial placement. He should have been very, very, very terrible. Personally horrible, got involved in pointless wars that England had nothing to gain from, used all the cash that his father, one Henry VII, had accumulated. He tried to rule like an absolute monarch when it was starting to become unpopular, although he did change this later on by giving the power that he took back to Parliament. He He also angered many people due to his obsession with having a son. So why is he this high despite all of this? Well, to start, he was a strong and intelligent ruler. He also split from the church and formed his own, something that would benefit England later on, and there would never be an external power that could damage them in the long run. Oh, and he made the Royal Navy a thing. This would provide England a key piece of its military for centuries. And he made England a superpower, which was his children who affirmed it, but he was the one that started it, where it remains a superpower to this day. He had a deep respect for doctors and advancement of medicine, and he created the Royal College of Physicians. 23. Edmund I successfully reasserted English control over territory lost to Norse raiders, including Mercia and Northumbria. He initiated a policy of peaceful relations with Scotland and attempted to curb feuds through his laws. Alas, he died at the hands of an outlaw while defending those who worked in his palace after only a 6-year reign. 22. Ethelwulf. Yes, he was close-minded at times and was quick to forgive, which isn't a good thing when you are a leader, especially a medieval one. However, he expanded the power of Wessex, effectively dealt with Viking raids, and even gave up his own throne to avoid a civil war with his son. He gave 1/10 of his property to his subjects as he was a charitable man. He was faithful to his family and paved the way for one Alfred the Great. A tier. These are monarchs, not great, good. These are people you'd want as your leader. These are people you can always trust in. These are people that you think, hey, he may not be perfect, but this is really, really, really good. 21. Henry I. He achieved peace in England, brought stability to Normandy, and made significant administrative advancements, including the Charter of Liberties, and successfully defended England against both the Scots and the Welsh. But he did manage to anger people due to extreme taxations and his harshness, which was seen as cruel even for his time. 20. William the Conqueror, father of the aforementioned Henry I. He was an amazing general, improved the finances of the country, introduced new castles such as Mott and Bally to England, which substantially reduced the threat of a Viking invasion, and the Doomsday Book to administer England more efficiently. However, like his son, he was harsh and cruel and set parts of his kingdom ablaze multiple times. 19. Anne. In a reign of 37 years, he is believed to introduce a system of coinage. He focused on trade by developing the port city of Hamwick, which is modern-day Southampton, and issued laws ranging from damage caused by cattle to the rights of convicted criminals. They laid the foundation stone for the structure of English society in the coming centuries. He abdicated in 726 to give the kingdom to someone younger. He would be higher likely if we knew more about him. 18. James I of England and 6th of Scotland. Although most Scottish monarchs are not on here, he is actually known as James VI of England and 1st of Scotland. I am going to call him James I, though, because he was King of Scotland and then of both England and Scotland. Probably the smartest monarch of Scotland and probably top 2 or 3 for England. He spent his reign pursuing peace, oversaw England expand its trade beyond Europe, engaging with Asia and America. He then became paranoid, and he almost ruined his image, unfortunately. If you guys want to see a Scottish monarch thing, let me know. Let's get this to 250 likes, and then we'll do a Scottish monarch ranking. 17. William of Orange. Brought us a step towards constitutional monarchy with the Bill of Rights. He won the 9 Years' War. He was a hard worker. But he was also a snob who few people ever came to like in England. He also wanted to go back to his native Holland, which didn't help the popularity either. 16. Edward the Confessor. Jury will always be out on this one because some people consider him great, others consider him terrible. He protected the poor, and much of his reign was peaceful and prosperous. Skirmishes with the Scots and Welsh were only occasional, and despite what you may hear, internal administration was maintained. However, he left the kingdom roughly in the same position as he found it, in the midst of a power struggle. 15. Cuthred. You need to understand background for this one. For the first dozen years of his reign, Wessex was subservient to the all-powerful kingdom of Mercia. However, in 752, Cuthred fought Mercian king Ethelbald at Battle Edge in Oxfordshire for independence and was victorious. But as a genocidal tyrant, he can't be any higher. 14. Edgar the Peaceable. Found the kingdom in a bit of a rough state, fixed it, then took a laid-back approach so he wouldn't screw things up again. When all the country needed was to be unified and have a peaceful time, he gave them that. He didn't get involved in pointless wars, and even though he very well could have, his reign was a high point in the 900s. 13. Henry V, the hero of Agincourt, almost became king of France as well. He was a superb military leader who crushed two rebellions that would have actually defeated many of the people on this list. Had he reigned longer than 9 years and gotten his domestic agenda done, he could have very easily been top 3, if not number 1. 12. Henry VII. Built on the reigns of his predecessors, ended the Wars of the Roses, established the Tudor dynasty, made key alliances, restored the royal finances, was a skilled general. Was he cruel and selfish? Yes. However, that can't knock him down too far given all of these accomplishments. 11. Canute. He was selfish, but he invaded from Norway and Denmark. He was a strong leader and lawmaker who brought peace to England. He managed to keep some alliances that would help England out for centuries, and managed to keep the Vikings out, which technically he did rule them, so it wasn't too difficult to do. Anyway, on to the top 10. 10. Victoria. During her reign, the empire doubled in size and was on 6 out of 7 continents, all except Antarctica. She saw the crown transform, and she transformed with it. She supported various... I don't know what's going on with me. Charities, and was a symbol of stability. Then she went crazy and became obsessed with her deceased husband and shoved away her kids. But later she rebounded and managed to keep the monarchy very popular. Without her, we may not have had a monarchy today. She was a symbol of progress and innovation, even though she opposed a lot of it. 9. Egbert. Unified the kingdom, made Wessex the most powerful kingdom in the area, appointed some people to help lead the empire, and laid the groundwork for his grandson, Alfred the Great, to permanently unify England. I say that because Egbert did have one major thing against him. He couldn't find a way to have it last past his death. 8. Edward III. The man who overstayed his welcome. He implemented legal reforms that would last for centuries. There was major economic growth, and he developed England's identity. There was never a power struggle during his reign, which was nearly unheard of for the time. He started the 100 Years' War with France, and it started off excellently. Although towards the end, France did start to fight back, and he failed to combat the Black Death, even if there was nothing he could really do about it. 7. Aethelstan. He built upon his predecessors and permanently unified England. He promoted education and made some alliances to help out England. The currency reforms also made the economy run smoothly. 6. Henry II, also known as Henry Kirkman. Much of the drama with Thomas Becket and the fighting with his family has been exaggerated, although it is fair to say they were both avoidable and that he was self-centered. But really, he simplified and unified the legal system. He laid out the groundwork for global power and was a strong and energetic ruler who gained royal authority and brought the country past the drama with the anarchy. On to S tier. These are the greats. The ones you would want to have pretty much any time. These are monarchs who go above and beyond, who are the symbol of England. If you want to have anyone as a ruler, these are the people you want. 5, Alfred the Great. Reformed everything so England could become a country, established a sense of English identity, and was courageous, fair, and smart. The Viking raids under his predecessor, those stopped under his watch. Edward the Elder, 4th. Basically Alfred, which is his father, with a longer reign. The reforms were cemented under his watch and managed to be the first king where people regularly thought of themselves as English. He fought when war was needed, but advocated for peace whenever possible. Had more records survived from his reign, he could have easily been number 1. 3, George VI. You have seen me criticize figureheads. However, if you are a figurehead, this is exactly how to be one. He was shy and had a bad stutter, which he combated so he could boost morale with his speeches. He would regularly visit troops in towns during World War II, and even though he didn't want to be king, he took his duties very seriously. He helped the poor so much that the homeless rate went quite a bit down under his watch. During the German Blitz, he refused to leave London and limited himself to the same rations as his constituents. This dude was a total Chad who, had he reigned longer, could have also been number 1. Sadly, he died at the age of 56 after only a 15-year reign. 2, Elizabeth I. She tried her best and succeeded at everything she wanted to. She made peace and brought stability. England prospered under her watch. Religious tensions were at an all-time high, yet managed to make everyone happy. She also managed to indirectly unify England and Scotland and made education a regular thing for the citizens. England became a permanent superpower under her watch. Now, do you know who I'm putting at number 1? I'm creating a separate S+ tier for this monarch. This guy, the best. The greatest. You know how I said that you'd want everyone in the S tier national identity? This is the one you want leading the pack. This is the people or person that is a hero. Sadly, this person's reputation has been tarnished by a certain movie. Do you know who I'm talking about? I'm going to give you guys 5 seconds to guess. 1, Edward I, also known as Edward Longshanks. This man saw significant legal reforms that benefited the people of England. The Statute of Westminster and the Statute of Quia and Portes made the law fair as well as brought peace between citizens. He managed to get England in power in both Scotland and Wales and surrounded himself with a parliament that would advise the king and help rule when he was on campaign. Yet he still managed to centralize the government. He was one of the smartest kings, maybe even the smartest, including the modern age. The castles that he had built helped protect England. He won a crusade and was able to earn the respect of a significant amount of his subjects with his building of schools and hospitals. He had a strong sense of duty and responsibility and actually took the job seriously. The economy remained relatively stable under his watch. He is the greatest king in English history. Well, that's it. Let me know what things you'd change and what you'd keep the same. And if you like this and want to see more ranking videos, again, at 250 likes, we will do a video ranking every Scottish monarch. If you like this kind of content, let me know by leaving a thumbs up. And if you want to stay tuned for more entertaining videos. Thank you all for watching. Hope you have a great day, a great week, a great year, a great decade, a great century, a great millennium. Thank you for sticking through for all this. If you want to have my original script, I will send some of it to lucky subscribers with a signature on it. Thank you.